So, welcome to the first edition of the Essex County Pride Network podcast. I'm happy to have my good friend with me, Imani Hayes, to here to talk about some of the challenges that we have in the community and some of the solutions that we can offer to make Essex County a little better. So, welcome, Imani.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you for having me as your first guest.
Absolutely. So, let's just start this conversation off really organic. I've known you for some time,
hmm
and you and I have worked on a number of projects, and every opportunity that I get to work with you through Project T, just all of the amazing work that you're doing in the community.
Thank
You
you.
literally inspire me every day to be a better
Oh,
leader.
thank
But I
you.
just want you to talk a little bit about, for our audience, talking a little bit about, who you are,
hmm
who is Imani, uh, what does the day in the life of Imani looks like at work,
Okay.
living in Newark. So just feel free to share with my audience who is my friend Imani
Okay. Well, I'm Imani Hayes.
Hayes.
I'm a proud transgender woman who resides here in Newark. I work for NJCRI. I'm actually the program manager for Project T, which stands for Trans Empowerment in Action. We're funded by the CDC, in which we do HIV testing and STI screenings for people who are non-binary and non-binary and trans. Um, we have over 1,000 clients since we've been in inception since 2022.
Hmm,
We do everything from legal name changes assist with legal name changes to community events, let alone, like I said, HIV testing, STI screenings, and we link people to services such as hormonal care, HRT, and as well as surgical needs.
awesome. So you're really doing the do, and you're really making it happen for our trans members in our
Yeah, we
community.
started off as one thing, but we've expanded into other avenues as far as transgender services, transgender related services. Even though we're not funded for it,
Hmm.
but we do it, and we
That's
try
awesome.
to accomplish it.
That's awesome. So if I was to say thinking about becoming trans or
Mhm.
one of the tools or to have the knowledge and information about what it means to have my identity reflected in who I am as a being.
Mhm.
Say if, for example, my name is Reggie, but I really want to be Renee
Mhm.
or things of that nature, or I really want the outer being of who I am, my gender expression and gender identity to reflect who I know internally I am. What are the services that I can take advantage of your program? Um, what services do you provide in terms of like allowing Renee to exist and
Well,
be fully into that spirit of being that individual?
well, you want Renee to come out.
Yes.
It all depends on what is affirming to you,
Okay.
because a lot of people, even though they may, like you said, you may have your inner Renee, you may not want your name changed. You
Right.
may want to still look the way you look. Gender identity doesn't reflect the way you look as well. I
Exactly.
mean, it depends upon the individual.
Okay.
So that will be, a thing for the individual person. So if you feel that, it's more affirming to you to be Renee and you want long hair, or you want to look more feminine, we would get you over to someone who can help you get HRT, get your hormones, and or then later maybe for surgical purposes and things like that. But that
And
all depends on what's affirming to you.
and I'm glad that you brought that up because it just reminded me of something, and I'm still learning as well that to legally transition, well, there's three phases of transitioning.
hmm
You can physically go through gender reassignment surgery.
hmm
You can go through what is called the legal name change process,
hmm
and then socially,
hmm
socially. So we talked a little bit about name change.
hmm
And we know working in government where I work that oftentimes through onboarding through HR or going in to get rendered services from the clerk's office or the registrar's office, that if you're physically, your appearance is one way, but you're presenting documents
hmm
that it reflects another identity,
hmm
that is a way of outing an individual.
hmm
So, how can someone take advantage of the tools through our New Jersey courts to make sure that their governing documents, the documents that they were given, is reflective of who they really are. Can you walk us through that process?
Well, I mean, as far as that is concerned, I mean, no. First of all, no government entity should, like, should be able to tell you just because of the way you present that you can't change your gender identity. Because,
Hmm.
like I said, like, there's individuals who are out there who present as female, or maybe consider themselves female,
Right.
but they don't look necessarily like, they don't wear women's clothes and things like that. So you can't you can't go off of that
Right.
anymore or whatever. So if I'm say I want to present as a man and I'm dressed like this, that's not up to the government or whatever. So when I go there to present my documents and everything, they shouldn't, it should be no, they should feel no other type of way. It's however, it's reflective of how I'm telling you. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
mhm.
So can you walk us through like the process
Okay,
of
of name
individual?
change.
Yeah, like so I know
Okay,
that.
so basically, if you want to get your name changed, you will have to just you basically you will go to the website, the documents, or I mean, get the forms off the website. If not, we have the project team. We have the documents. We'll help you fill the documents out. We'll even go as far as helping you if you're on public assistance, or if you have like SSI or
Hmm.
SSD or anything like that. We can help you fill out the fee waiver forms, which you don't have to
Wow.
pay the $250 fee, which is required at the time
Hmm.
when filing the name change document.
Okay.
Once you do that, you get a court date. We normally with Project T, we walk you through the whole process.
Hmm.
We go through all of that up until you getting your resealed document, resealed copies, to get your actual identification, your social security number, change your new birth certificate with vital statistics.
Wow.
We do all of that. So.
So when someone is encountering, I would say, the judiciary, the courts,
Mhm.
oftentimes it can be a little intimidating.
Mhm.
Um, Mostly when people come into government spaces, it's
Mhm.
often not always a great experience. So if an individual chooses to go get a name change petition and go through
Mhm.
the process,
Mhm.
how many hearings do you say like they would have to keep going back? Is it like multiple visits? Is it one visit? Is
It's normally one visit. If you do everything correctly, if you follow the
hmm
instructions, it's normally one time. And even a lot of our trans clients or non-binary clients who are intimidated by government entities and things like that, I'll go along with them.
I love it.
I assist them. I'll go along with them and sit with them through it. So and if they miss something, I'll let them know what they missed and I help them correct it so that it'll go
That is so inspiring. Thank you for all that you
through.
do.
Thank you.
So, can you talk a little bit about November and why November is so significant for the LGBTQ plus community? We all know that throughout the year, excuse me, that there are, multiple attacks
Mhm,
against the LGBTQ community, but specifically members of the trans population.
mhm.
And can you talk a little bit about, why we take the time each November to specifically highlight the trans community, but specifically trans women of color and all the challenges that they have throughout the year?
Well, of course, November is Trans Awareness Month, and then also Trans Awareness Week starting November the 13th
Hmm.
through the 19th,
Hmm.
which culminates with November 20th being Trans Day of Remembrance, which we honor those trans individuals that have fallen and passed away um, tragically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, and it's a very important month because it highlights, and it shines a light on, what's going on in our transgender community, especially now with everything with our political climate and everything that's going on today.
And I think what I appreciate about you and the work that you do at Project T Money, just the other day on a call we had, I believe was Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
and you in your wisdom um, decided to do uh, a Thanksgiving or a holiday type themed dinner,
Hmm.
so that members of the community who may not have that connection with their relatives can come and enjoy a plate of food, fellowship, and be in a space with the same individuals with the same lived experience.
Right.
Can you talk to us about, why you decided to do that, but also too, I think you got really clever and created the Transgiving dinner that is upcoming this week. So can
Right.
you talk about what inspired you to do that
Okay.
and why is it so important for the girls to have
Uh,
that?
okay, so a couple of years ago, there was a we had a trans affirming doctor, a trans care doctor by the name of Dr. Michelle Dalla Piazza. She's now she's moved up. She used to be at UMD, but she's now in Chicago. And she used to have like once a year a big trans giving dinner for all her trans patients.
Mm-hmm.
And she would invite everybody to come out and they would supply the food and all the girls and guys would come out and fellowship as one. But ever since then, we haven't had one like in so many years. So I had decided to have one, which will be this Thursday at the Pride Center.
Mm-hmm.
What you saw last Thursday was through TEC, the Trans Equity Coalition. They We work with them hand in hand. They're an outside entity from South Jersey, and they reached out to us because they liked the work we were doing, and they wanted to use our space
Right.
to have this dinner or whatever. So we collabed with them. They supplied the food, and we supplied some food too because I
Mm-hmm.
made my macaroni and cheese.
It's quite tasty, I must
Yeah,
say.
and we got together, and it was basically we didn't know how many people were going to actually come out. It was a great turnout because
Right.
we actually, you had to register through the QR code, and I believe they were only taking up to 20 to 24 people,
Wow.
but it ended up being more than that. So people who, trans individuals who didn't even register, were able to come in and get a plate of food and everything afterwards.
That's wonderful.
So it was a really good event. So once again, this Thursday at the Pride Center at 17 Academy Street
Mm-hmm.
from 5 to 7, we're doing it potluck style. It was put together through our group at under Project T, which is called Brother T Love. It's
Mm-hmm.
a trans mass group,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided they wanted to do like a potluck. And so, but we decided to open it up not just for the trans masses, for the trans feminine, non-binary. Anybody can come. All you have to do is just bring a dish, bring some potato chips, bring a plate, bring forks,
Love it.
whatever, and you're more than welcome to join us.
And it just really talks about like how our community make a way out of anything
Hmm.
and how we're able to come together and find that love where it's needed or where we can find it. Oftentimes where it's lacked in spaces like
Hmm.
family that may not be understanding certain entities that we're part of the workplace, etc., that may not embrace our identity as a whole, where we can go and find that love. So thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely make sure that we share that information on this video so that people can share and attend. I'll definitely be there to support. But you do so much in this community. You live in Newark. You're a wonderful nonprofit manager.
Oh, thank you.
You are a loving wife to a wonderful husband who I know. Um,
Thank
and I
you.
just want you to talk a little bit about, you know, what can we do to better empower the community, but also to talk a little bit about a little bit of the role that you play here at the county, advising us and making us better in our due diligence in our day to day, because we don't oftentimes get it all right all the time. And I
And
just
not
want you to talk
only
about how you can make us better through your role as being on the advisory
Yeah, and I don't expect you to be able to get it all right, everything, because there's so much, especially with our community. It's so diverse and so everything is just so different. As far as that is concerned, like what I would expect, just support. Also, like what I'm learning from working at the agency I work or the organization I work for, and just in this community, they base everything about transgender people around HIV.
board. Hmm.
And transgender people are more than just HIV. Not all transgender people have HIV. We may be at risk for it, but it's not all about that. Especially in Essex County, one of our biggest needs for our transgender community is
It's housing.
housing. And until we start doing something about that, we're going to always have problems and fall by the wayside because housing is a big issue. And even to, you're talking about, the Transgiving thing that we're doing this Thursday. Food insecurity is another one.
Hmm.
It's a big one. Donate food and stuff to us so that we can give it out to our trans clients and individuals.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Is we know that housing can stabilize communities and stabilize people.
Hmm.
And to the point that you mentioned, that the lack of housing for our trans and entirely the LGBTQ community, we know that that's an issue, and we're working to get creative with New York Housing Authority and NJDCA to say we get that providing access and the means to, shelters and things of that nature, but how we're actually investing our dollars in terms of like permanent supportive housing for LGBTQ people, but specifically trans people. So thank you for, continue to task us on that issue. It's something that we're talking about every day, and we're
Also,
hopeful that we can finally yield some results eventually on
Also, I
that.
want to add to that because also with the homeless population, also shelters.
Hmm.
Normally I think in Newark there's like the only shelter they have is like the Rain Foundation, and you have to be a certain age
Right.
to. And once you age out, that's it. And then not only that, they only give you I believe with the Rain Foundation, they only give you a certain amount of time, like a month, to find a job. And then if you can't find a job, they kind of put you out.
Hmm.
And we need to find stable shelters. We can't put transgender people in places like 224 and
Right.
things like that. That's not going to work. We need, if they're gonna, we need more shelters for people of LGBT, for the LGBT community and the trans community.
Yeah, because our lived experience is a little different compared
Correct.
to other populations.
Correct.
Um, I couldn't imagine what it would be like if I'm transitioning and I'm homeless.
Hmm.
I have to have the proper home setting where I'm administering my hormonal steroids and
Correct.
things of those nature. So
Correct.
it can be such a barrier and a challenge for
Correct.
those who are transitioning.
I'm good. I mean, shout outs to those places like, the Salon and the Nest and all of those places who do take in LGBTQ people. But for those places, those are specifically for people who are experiencing domestic violence
Hmm.
or they have to be HIV positive.
Yeah,
But once again, not all of our community is HIV positive, so they need support as well.
exactly. So, in closing, I just want to again thank you, Imani, for taking the time to have a conversation with me. I just would like to leave this episode of the podcast with one inspiring quote. What are you hopeful for the future of the LGBTQ community, but specifically the trans community? What are you hopeful for? And how do you see, our future working together being bright?
Oh, well, I know our future working together is always going to be bright because you always come up with new and innovative things like this podcast.
Thank you.
So I know that's going to be our future is awesome. I just want to just leave with everybody, with everything that's going on, just don't be dismayed. I mean, we've gotten through one administration in 2016. We're going to get through this. So
So,
let's just, just stick together and just focus on one mission. And that's it.
thank you. Thank you, Imani.
Thank you.
Yeah.